Welcome to Inside Vietnam. I'm your host, and today's story is about Earl Hutchins, a 67-year-old retired mechanic from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Earl spent 45 years fixing other people's cars and nearly 5 decades trying to fix a broken heart. When he finally retired, he sold everything he owned and moved halfway around the world looking for a second chance at the life he felt had passed him by. What happened next changed everything. He met someone who made him believe he could finally matter to another person, that he could build something real. He had no idea what was coming. This one's gonna stick with you. Here's his story, in his own words. My name's Earl Hutchins, and I reckon I need to start this story back in 1978. Because that's when everything really began, even though I didn't land in Vietnam until I was 66 years old. Funny how your whole life can pivot on a single moment, and you spend the next 47 years living in the shadow of it. Linda Faye Mercer. That was her name. We were high school sweethearts in Tuscaloosa, the kind of couple everyone assumed would get married right after graduation. I was working at Patterson's auto shop even then, learning the trade, getting grease under my fingernails that never quite came out, no matter how much I scrubbed. Linda Faye was beautiful, smart, had this laugh that made you feel like you were the only person in the world. We talked about getting married, having kids, building a life together. Then she met Robert Caldwell at a church social. He was a banker, wore suits to work, had clean hands, and a college degree. 3 months later, she told me she'd made a mistake, that she needed someone with prospects, someone who could give her the life she deserved. She married Robert in the spring of 1979 and moved to Atlanta. I heard they had 3 kids, a big house in the suburbs, the whole thing. I told myself I was fine. I had work, I was good at work. Patterson's auto shop became my life. I showed up early, stayed late, took on the jobs nobody else wanted. Transmissions, engine rebuilds, the complicated stuff that required patience and attention. Folks around Tuscaloosa knew me as Reliable Earl, the guy who'd fix your car right the first time and charge you fair. I dated here and there over the years, but I always found myself comparing them to Linda Faye, always found them wanting. After a while, I just stopped trying. 45 years I worked at that shop. Same bay, same tools, same routine. I bought a small house in 1985, paid it off in 15 years, lived alone except for a dog I had for 12 years until he died. I had a few buddies I'd grab a beer with sometimes, watched Alabama football, went to church on Easter and Christmas. It was a quiet life, a safe life, an empty life, if I'm being honest. When I turned 66, Mr. Six, Patterson's son took over the business and started talking about retirement for the older guys. He didn't push me out, but I could read between the lines. My hands weren't as steady as they used to be, my back hurt after a full day, and the newer cars were all computers and sensors instead of the mechanical systems I understood. I took the retirement package. Suddenly I had time, had money from selling my stake in some equipment, had a pension check coming every month, and had absolutely nothing to do with any of it. That house in Tuscaloosa that I'd been so proud of paying off started feeling like a tomb. Every room echoed. I'd sit there in the evenings, watching TV shows I didn't care about, eating microwave dinners, going to bed at 8 because there wasn't any reason to stay awake. I was 66 years old, and I'd built a whole life around the absence of Linda Faye Mercer. I'd let one woman's decision 47 years ago determine everything that came after. The thing that changed everything was a regular customer named Tim Bradshaw. He brought his truck in for an oil change about 2 months after I retired. Didn't realize I wasn't working there anymore. We got to talking in the waiting area, and he started showing me pictures on his phone of his son who was teaching English in Vietnam. Daang, he said. Beautiful beaches, mountains, friendly people, and the cost of living was nothing compared to the States. My boy lives like a king over there on $1,500 a month, Tim said. Man your age could live even better on Social Security. Get yourself a nice apartment, eat out every day, maybe meet someone. It's a whole different world. I went home and started watching YouTube videos about Vietnam. Expats talking about their lives, showing street food, beaches, the cost of rent. I'd never been much of a traveler, never been outside the United States, except for a fishing trip to Canada back in the 90s. But something about those videos grabbed hold of me. Vietnam looked like the kind of place where nobody knew you, where you could be someone different, where the past didn't follow you across the Pacific Ocean. I started doing the math. My house was paid off, probably worth $90,000 or so. I had about $50,000 in savings and retirement accounts. My pension was $2,100 a month. If I sold everything and moved to Vietnam, I could live comfortably for the rest of my life and still have a cushion for emergencies. The more I thought about it, the more it made sense. What was I staying in Tuscaloosa for? To watch TV alone until I died? I spent 6 months planning. Sold the house for $98,000. Sold my truck, my tools, most of my furniture. Kept 2 duffel bags worth of clothes and personal items. Got my passport, figured out the visa situation, bought a one-way ticket to Daang. Some of the guys from the shop thought I'd lost my mind. My sister in Montgomery told me I was having some kind of mental breakdown. But I knew what I was doing. I was escaping. Not running towards something, really, just running away from being the guy who let life pass him by in a garage bay. February 14th, 2024. Valentine's Day. I figured that was fitting somehow, though I didn't know if it was ironic or hopeful. I landed at Daang International Airport with $98,000 in my bank account, a pension check getting deposited every month, and absolutely no idea what I was doing. The heat hit me first when I walked out of that airport. Alabama gets hot, but this was different. Wet heat, thick heat, the kind that soaks through your shirt in 5 minutes. The noise was incredible. Motorbikes everywhere, honking, people shouting, smells I couldn't identify. I got in a taxi and showed the driver the address of a hotel I'd booked online. I remember sitting in the back of that taxi, watching Daang roll past the windows, and thinking 2 things. First, that I'd just made either the best decision of my life or the worst. And second, that for the first time in 47 years, I felt like I was actually living instead of just waiting to die. I had no idea what was coming. None at all. The first few weeks in Daang were like being dropped onto another planet. Everything was foreign. The language sounded like music I couldn't follow. The traffic moved like a swarm with its own logic, and the food was nothing like what I knew. But it was exciting in a way I hadn't felt since I was young. Every day was something new to figure out. I found a studio apartment about a 15-minute walk from Thuong Beach. $350 a month, furnished, air conditioning that worked most of the time. The landlord was a Vietnamese woman in her 50s who spoke enough English to explain the rules. No noise after 10, rent due on the 1st, don't lose the key because replacements cost money. It was about a third the size of my house in Tuscaloosa, but it was mine, and it didn't echo. Those first mornings I'd wake up disoriented, forgetting where I was for a few seconds. Then I'd hear the motorbikes outside and remember. Vietnam. I actually did it. I'd get up, make instant coffee with the electric kettle, and sit by the window watching the city wake up. Street vendors setting up their carts, people heading to work on scooters, sometimes 3 or 4 to a bike. Life happening right outside my window. I started exploring. Walked to the beach most mornings, bought banh mi from a cart for about $1, sat on the sand watching the fishermen bring in their nets. The water was warm, nothing like the Gulf Coast. I'd never been much of a beach person, but there was something peaceful about it. Anonymous. Nobody knew who I was or what I'd left behind. Other expats found me pretty quick. That's how it works in places like this, I learned. Foreigners stick together. There was a guy from Australia named Dave who'd been in Daang for 3 years. A British couple who ran a small English school. A few Americans scattered around. They welcomed me, showed me where to buy things, which restaurants catered to Western tastes, how to use the Grab app for cheap motorbike rides. And they warned me, always with the warnings. Watch out for the bar girls, Dave told me over beers one night at an expat hangout near the beach. They see a single Western guy your age, they smell money. They'll clean you out faster than you can blink. I listened. I'm not stupid. I'd heard the stories before I even got on the plane. Old guys falling for young Vietnamese women, losing everything, going home broke and embarrassed. I told myself I was different. I was careful. I'd spent 45 years being careful. I got into a routine. Mornings at the beach, afternoons exploring different neighborhoods on a rented motorbike. I probably had no business riding at my age. Evenings trying local food or meeting up with the expat crowd. I tried pho, com tom, bun cha, all of it. Some of it I liked, some I didn't, but I tried. I was living, actually participating in my own life instead of just watching it go by. For the first time since I could remember, people seemed to notice me. Vendors at the market remembered my face, smiled when I came back. The lady who ran the banh mi cart near my apartment started preparing my order when she saw me coming. Small things, but they mattered. In Tuscaloosa, I'd been invisible for so long, I'd forgotten what it felt like to be seen. 6 weeks in, I found a coffee shop about 3 blocks from my apartment. It wasn't one of the tourist places. No English menu, no Western prices. Just a small shop with plastic chairs and strong Vietnamese coffee. I started going there in the afternoons, sitting in the corner, watching people. The coffee was different than anything we had back home. Thick, sweet, served with condensed milk over ice. It took some getting used to, but I liked it. That's where I met her. Her name was Lynn. I noticed her the third or fourth time I went to that coffee shop. She'd come in during what I guessed was a break from work, order a café suada, sit by herself for 20 minutes or so, scrolling through her phone or reading something on her tablet. She was Vietnamese, maybe late 30s, dressed nice but not flashy. Professional looking. She didn't pay attention to anyone, just did her thing and left. I noticed she always sat at the same table when it was available, near the window, but not right by it. Noticed she paid with exact change, always polite to the staff. Little things you pick up when you spend enough time watching. One afternoon, the shop was more crowded than usual. She came in and her usual table was taken. She looked around, and the only open seat was across from me at my table. She hesitated, and I gestured to the empty chair. "Seat's not taken," I said. She gave a small smile, sat down, ordered her coffee. We didn't talk at first. I went back to my phone, pretending to read news articles. But then I caught her looking at my hands. Those oil stains that never fully come out, no matter how much pumice soap you use. "You work with machines?" she asked. Her English was good, better than I expected. "Used to," I said. "I was a mechanic, automobiles, back in the States." She smiled, a real smile this time. "My father, he fixed motorbike, all his life. His hands look like yours." That got me. That small detail, that connection. We started talking. I told her about Patterson's auto shop, about working on cars for 45 years. She told me her father had a small repair shop in the countryside near Hoi An, that she'd grown up watching him work. She said she'd moved to Daang for better opportunities, worked at a hotel near the beach, front desk, guest services, that kind of thing. We talked for maybe an hour. When she finished her coffee and stood to leave, I offered to pay for it. She shook her head, smiled, said she paid for her own coffee. She thanked me for the conversation and left. I thought about her the rest of that day. Not in any romantic way, not at first. Just that it had been nice to talk to someone who wasn't another expat telling war stories, or a vendor trying to sell me something. Someone who seemed genuinely interested in what I had to say. She came back to that coffee shop 2 days later. Same time, same order. The shop wasn't as crowded, but she sat at my table anyway. We talked again. I learned her full name was Lynn, that she was 38, that she'd been working in hospitality for 15 years. She asked about Alabama, about what it was like living in a small southern town. She listened when I talked, asked follow-up questions, seemed curious. Over the next 2 weeks, we met at that coffee shop 5 times. It became a thing, this unofficial appointment we both kept. She never asked me for anything. She paid for her own coffee every time, turned down my offers with a polite smile. We talked about our lives, about the differences between Vietnam and America, about food and work and families. Looking back now, I can see what was happening, but at the time, all I felt was that someone was interested in me. Not in my pension check, not in what I could provide, just in me. Earl Hutchins, the guy who fixed cars and never did much else with his life. She made me feel like that was enough. Like I was enough. That's what hooked me. Not her looks, not some fantasy of a young Vietnamese girlfriend. Just the feeling that after 47 years of being invisible, someone finally saw me. I should have known better. Dave and the other expats had warned me. But their warnings were about bar girls and obvious scams. Lynn wasn't like that. She had a job, paid her own way, took her time. She didn't fit the pattern I'd been told to watch for. That's how it works, though. The good ones never do. Things move slow with Lynn, and that's exactly why I trusted it. She wasn't pushy, wasn't always available, had her own life and schedule. We graduated from coffee to actual dates, dinners at local restaurants where she'd order for both of us, explaining what each dish was. Walks along An Thuong Beach in the evenings when it cooled down a bit. Weekend trips to the markets where she'd haggle with vendors in Vietnamese while I stood there useless but entertained. She started teaching me basic phrases. Ot chien cho. Cam. On. Bao ni hu tien. Hello, thank you, how much? I butchered every one of them, and she'd laugh. Not mean, just genuine amusement at my Alabama accent trying to wrap around tones I couldn't hear the difference between. You sound like my uncle from countryside, she'd say, grinning. Very cute. It felt real, natural, like how I imagined normal relationships developed. Not that I had much experience to compare it to. We'd been seeing each other for about 6 weeks when she invited me to meet her family. My mother, she want to meet you, Lynn said one evening as we walked back from dinner. She worry I spend time with strange foreign man. She smiled when she said it, but I could tell it mattered to her. I'd be honored, I said, and I meant it. The following Sunday, she picked me up on her motorbike. I'd gotten more comfortable riding as a passenger by then, though it still felt dangerous compared to a car. We rode about 20 minutes outside the main city, through neighborhoods that got progressively less touristy, more working class. Narrow alleys, laundry hanging between buildings, chickens in yards. Her family's house was small, concrete, painted yellow with rust stains from the metal gate. Not poor, but modest. Reminded me of the neighborhood I grew up in back in Tuscaloosa, before everything got built up and expensive. Working people's houses. Lynn's mother was in her early 60s, gray hair tied back, wearing simple clothes. She didn't speak much English but smiled when Lynn introduced me, gestured for me to sit. The house was clean, sparsely furnished. A motorbike parked in the front room, like that was normal. Pictures of family on the walls, a small Buddhist shrine in the corner with incense burning. Her brother Min was there, probably mid-40s, worked construction. Quiet guy, spoke even less English than the mother. And the niece, Lynn's brother's daughter, maybe 13, practiced her English with me. Where are you from? You like Vietnam? What is your job? The same questions I'd been asked 100 times, but she was earnest about it, trying hard. The mother served food. So much food. Spring rolls, rice, some kind of fish I didn't recognize, vegetables I couldn't name. She kept putting more on my plate, gesturing for me to eat. Eat, Lynn translated, laughing. She think you too skinny. I've never been skinny a day in my life, but I ate. It felt good, being in a family home again. The chaos of it, people talking over each other in Vietnamese, the TV in the background, the mother fussing over everyone. It reminded me of dinners at my aunt's house when I was young, before everyone grew up and scattered. Min asked about America, through Lynn translating. Was it true everyone had big houses? Did I own a gun? What did I think of Trump? Basic stuff, but he seemed genuinely curious. I told them about Tuscaloosa, about working at the auto shop, about why I'd come to Vietnam. Lynn translated, and I watched her mother's face soften as she listened. After dinner, the mother said something to Lynn in Vietnamese, looking at me. Lynn smiled, a little embarrassed. She say you are a good man. Respectful. She happy I have good friend. Friend. That's what we were calling it still. But sitting there in that small house with these people who'd welcomed me, I felt something I hadn't felt in decades. Accepted. Like I belonged somewhere. I started visiting regularly after that. Every couple weeks, Lynn would take me back to her mother's house for Sunday dinner. I'd bring small gifts, nothing expensive. Fruit from the market, candy for the niece, beer for Min. The mother would always protest, say it was too much, but I could tell she appreciated it. 4 months into our relationship, things shifted. Lynn and I were having dinner at a small restaurant near my apartment when she got quiet, started picking at her food instead of eating. I asked if something was wrong. My mother, she said finally, she have diabetes. You know diabetes? I nodded. My uncle had it back home. Took insulin for years. Yes, insulin. Very expensive here. Insurance not cover all. This month she needs special medicine, new kind, doctors say she must have. Cost 20 million dong. She paused. About $800 US. She looked embarrassed bringing it up, kept her eyes on her plate. I save money, but not enough yet. I try to help her, but hotel salary. She trailed off. I didn't even think about it. Let me help. She looked up, surprised. No, Earl, I cannot ask you. You're not asking. I'm offering. What's $800 if it helps your mom stay healthy? She started crying right there in the restaurant. Quiet crying, wiping her eyes with a napkin. You are very kind, man. I pay you back, I promise. When I save, it's not a loan, I said. Consider it a gift. Your family's been good to me. Let me do this. The next day, I transferred the money to her account. She sent me a picture of her mother at the doctor's office, holding the medication, smiling. Sent me a message. My mother say you like family now. Thank you, Earl. Like family. I'd never been anyone's family before. 2 weeks later, Min had a motorbike accident. Nothing too serious, Lynn said, but he needed surgery on his leg. The hospital wanted payment up front. 28 million dong, about $1,200. Lynn came to me crying again, apologetic. I know I just asked you for help with my mother. I feel so bad. But Min, he needs surgery. He cannot work if leg not fix. His daughter, my niece, she depend on him. I gave her the money. What else was I going to do? Let the guy suffer because I was worried about being taken advantage of. These were good people. Working people. The kind of family I would have had if my life had gone different. This is loan, Lynn insisted. I pay back. I keep record. I show you. And she did show me a notebook where she'd written down both amounts, dates, promised repayment dates. A month after that, the niece's school fees came due. Private school, better education, her only chance at a better life than her father had. 15 million dong, about $600. Lynn barely got the words out before crying again. I hate to ask. I hate this. You must think my family only want money from you. I don't think that at all, I said, and I meant it. These are emergencies. Life happens. That's what family does, right? Help each other out. She hugged me for the first time then. Actually hugged me, standing there on the street outside her apartment. You are a blessing to us, Earl. My mother always prayed for good man to come into my life. I think her prayer answered. I'd given her $3,500 in 3 months. $3,500 out of $98,000. Not even 4% of my savings. The money didn't matter. What mattered was being needed. Being important to people. Being the answer to someone's prayer instead of the guy who got left behind. Looking back now, I can see every move, every calculation. The slow build of trust. The family introduction. The way each request came with tears and reluctance and promises of repayment. The way she made me feel like a hero for helping, like I was saving these people instead of being bled dry. But back then, all I felt was grateful. Grateful that at 67 years old, after a lifetime of being alone, I'd found people who treated me like I mattered. That's the thing about loneliness. It doesn't just make you vulnerable. It makes you grateful for any scrap of belonging, even when you should know better. Even when every expat in Daang had warned you. Even when the pattern is obvious to everyone but you. I told myself I was helping family. Told myself this was different. Told myself Lynn loved me for who I was, not what I had. I was wrong about all of it. But I didn't know that yet. Month 6, Lynn started talking about the future. Our future. We were sitting at a different coffee shop, one with better air conditioning, and she pulled up something on her phone. Pictures of cafes. Small places, cozy, Vietnamese style with the little plastic chairs and drip coffee. I always dreamed to open cafes, she said, scrolling through the images. Since I'm a young girl. Small place, good coffee, maybe some banh mi, some pastries. Nothing big. Just mine. She showed me what looked like a business plan. Numbers on a spreadsheet, location ideas, projected costs. She'd obviously put thought into this. I work in hotel 15 years now. I know hospitality, I know customer service, I save money little by little, but... She shrugged, smiled sadly. Maybe someday. I looked at those numbers. Initial investment about 400 million dong, roughly 18,000 US dollars. I had 94,000 left in my account after helping with the family emergencies. 18,000 was nothing, just sitting there in the bank, earning basically zero interest. What if I invested? I said. She looked up, confused. What you mean? What if I helped you get this started? We could be partners. You run it, I provide the capital. Build something together. She shook her head immediately. No, Earl. That too much. I cannot accept. I'm not talking about a gift. I'm talking about a business partnership. An investment. We'd both own it, both benefit from it. The more I talked, the more sense it made. I've got money sitting in the bank doing nothing. You've got the knowledge and the dream. Why not put them together? She got quiet, emotional. You would do this? For me? For us, I said. This would be ours. Something we build together. She cried. Again with the crying, but this felt different. This wasn't desperation, it was hope. She kept saying it was too much, too generous. She couldn't possibly accept. But I insisted. I'd spent 40 years building nothing, owning nothing except a car and a house I lived in alone. This was a chance to actually create something, to be part of something. Finally, she agreed. More crying, promising this would change everything, promising I wouldn't regret it. We do this together, she said. Partners. Equal. I transferred $18,000 the next week. 430 million dong. She showed me the receipts. Lease deposit for a small location near Hai Chau district. 6 months paid up front. Business license fees. Initial equipment, coffee makers, grinders, refrigerator. She was organized about it, kept me updated on every expense. Then 2 weeks later, she found a better location. More foot traffic, she said. Corner spot, better visibility from the street, near a university, so lots of students. But the owner wanted more deposit. Another 300 million dong, about $12,000. I know we already invest so much, she said, showing me pictures of the new place. But this location, Earl, this is much better for business. We make money back faster. The other place, it okay, but this one. She showed me foot traffic data she'd somehow gathered, talked about customer demographics, breakfast, and lunch rushes. It made sense. If we were doing this, we should do it right. I transferred another 12,000. Renovation started. Lynn showed me progress photos every few days. The walls getting painted, new flooring going in, the counter being built. 200 million dong, about $8,000. "I'm so sorry," she said. "The contractor, he find problem with electric, with water pipe. We have to fix, or city inspector will not approve." I gave her the money. We were up to 38,000 now, but I told myself this was normal. Any business venture has unexpected costs. You plan for one thing, reality throws you curveballs. I'd learned that from 45 years of running estimates on car repairs, then equipment upgrades. The espresso machine she'd planned to buy wasn't good enough, she said. Customers in Vietnam, they know good coffee. If we want to compete, we need professional level equipment. Another 130 million dong, $5,500. "This is last big expense, I promise," she said. "After this, just small things. Then we open." I transferred the money, did the math in my head. $43,500 total invested. My savings had dropped from 98,000 to 54,500 in 8 months. More than I'd planned to spend, but we were building something real here. Equity. A business. Our business. Lynn started talking about marriage. Nothing official, just mentioning it casually. How I could get a longer visa if we were married. How it would make business ownership easier. How her mother kept asking when we'd make it formal. "She like you very much," Lynn would say. "She never like any man I date before. She say you are answer to her prayers." I let myself imagine it. Earl Hutchins, married at 67, running a cafe in Vietnam with a woman who actually wanted to be with him. Building something that mattered. Having a family, finally, after spending a lifetime alone. "When cafe open, everything change," Lynn said one night as we sat on the beach. "We have income, we have business together, we have future. Maybe we get married, you stay here permanent. You happy here, yes?" I was happy. Happier than I'd been in 47 years. I had purpose, partnership, something to wake up for every morning besides just existing. The money was steep, sure, but what was I saving it for anyway? To die alone back in Alabama with a full bank account? This was different from the horror stories. Those were about old guys giving money to bar girls for nothing, getting scammed by women they barely knew. Lynn and I had been together 8 months. I'd met her family, been welcomed into their home, helped them through genuine emergencies. We were building a business together, something tangible, something real. I told myself this constantly. This is different. This is real. This is finally my turn. Looking back now, I can see how perfectly it was constructed. The slow build over months, the family acceptance, the small helps that established me as a rescuer, a provider. Then the big investment framed as partnership, as our future together. Each additional expense justified by the previous ones. Sunk cost fallacy in action. I'd already put in 38,000. What's another 5 to finish it right? And the marriage talk. The promise of permanence, of belonging, of finally having what I'd wanted since 1978. She knew exactly what buttons to push, exactly what I needed to hear. But I didn't see any of that then. All I saw was the life I'd dreamed about finally becoming real. All I felt was grateful that someone wanted to build something with me. I should have asked to visit the construction site, should have insisted on meeting with contractors directly, should have demanded joint access to business accounts, should have noticed that every time I asked about visiting the cafe, she had a reason why not yet, but I didn't do any of that, because I wanted to believe. I needed to believe. And she knew it. By month 8, according to Lynn, the cafe was weeks from opening. She showed me photos constantly, construction progress, equipment being installed, furniture deliveries. Everything looked legitimate, professional, real. but I still hadn't seen it in person. Every time I suggested visiting, she had a reason. Still too messy, wait until it cleaned up. Or, contractor working today, very loud, very dusty. Then finally, the explanation that I accepted like a fool, Vietnamese superstition. In Vietnam culture, she said one evening, partner cannot see business before opening. Bad luck. Very bad luck. My mother, she very serious about this. She say if you come before we open, cafe will fail. I found it odd, I'll admit. Seemed convenient. But I didn't want to be the ignorant American, the guy who doesn't respect local customs. Besides, she showed me receipts for everything. Photos of every stage, updates every few days. Why would she lie? The family emergencies kept coming too, and that's when I should have noticed the pattern. The mother's diabetes medication came due again. 40 million dong, about $1,700 this time. New medicine, Lynn explained. More expensive, but doctors say necessary. Min had complications from his leg surgery, needed physical therapy. 25 million dong, about $1,100. The niece needed a new computer for school. 15 million dong, $650. Each request came with the same tears, the same apologies, the same promises to pay me back. But looking back now, nothing ever resolved. The mother's diabetes never stabilized. Min's leg never fully healed. The niece always had new expenses. I'd given another $3,500 on top of the $43,500 for the cafe. $47,000 total in 8 months. My savings account had dropped from $98,000 to $51,000. I did the math late one night, sitting alone in my apartment, and felt something cold settle in my chest. Half my life savings, gone. In 8 months. But the cafe was about to open, I told myself. We'd start making money back. This was an investment, not a loss. And the family stuff, those were loans. Lynn had them all written down in that notebook, promised repayment once the business was profitable. Lynn started being less available. Canceled dates last minute because of cafe preparations, was often too busy to meet, even for coffee. When we did see each other, she seemed distracted, always checking her phone, giving vague answers about where she'd been or what she'd been doing. I suggest we meet my coworkers from hotel, I said one night. I'd like to know your friends. She got uncomfortable, shifted in her seat. They not understand our relationship. Too much age difference, they gossip. Vietnamese people, they talk too much. I not want them in our business. I suggested meeting some of her friends from outside work then. She deflected again. My friends, they not speak English. Very awkward for you. Better we keep private, just us. Red flags everywhere. I see them now. But at the time, I rationalized every single one. One night I suggested we sit down together and review all the cafe finances. Make sure everything was on track, see where we stood, plan for the opening. Lynn's whole demeanor changed. She got defensive, her voice rising. You not trust me? After everything, you think I lie? I work so hard, Earl, so hard. Every day I deal with contractor, with inspector, with supplier. I show you receipt for everything, everything. And now you say I not honest? She started crying. Real tears, the kind where she could barely speak. I think you different. I think you understand. But you like other foreign men. You think Vietnamese women always cheat you. You think I am bad person. I felt terrible. Like I'd kicked a puppy. No, Lynn, that's not what I meant. You just thought I steal from you. You just thought I lie. After I introduce you to my family, after my mother accept you, after we plan future together. This is what you think of me. I apologized. Kept apologizing until she finally calmed down. She softened, showed me more receipts on her phone, promised the opening would happen within 2 weeks. Then you see everything. Then you know I tell truth. Then you be sorry you doubt me. I felt guilty for days after that. She'd made me feel like the bad guy for asking a reasonable question about a business I'd invested $43,000 in. That's manipulation, I know now. Classic defensive deflection. Turn the tables. Make the victim feel guilty for being suspicious. But I didn't see it then. The opening date kept getting pushed back. First, it was city inspection delays. Then, supplier problems. Then, Tet holiday complications. Always something. Always a reason. Maybe one more small expense, Lynn would say. Inspector want us to change door, change window. Very stupid, but we have to do, or he not approve. I didn't give her any more money after the $47,000. Not because I was suspicious, but because I literally couldn't afford to. I'd burned through half my savings. My pension was $2,100 a month, rent was $350, I needed to eat, needed to live. I had to draw a line somewhere. Lynn seemed to accept this, but I noticed her getting more distant, less affectionate, more irritable when we were together. Lying in bed at night in my apartment, listening to the motorbikes outside, I'd sometimes let myself think thoughts I didn't want to have. What if this was a mistake? What if Dave and the other expats were right? What if I'd just thrown away half my life savings on a fantasy? But then I pushed those thoughts down. I'd already invested $47,000. If I walked away now, all of it was lost. Better to see it through. Better to trust the woman I'd spent 8 months with, who'd introduced me to her family, who talked about marriage and our future together. That's the trap, right there. I was too invested to back out. Too far in to admit I might have made a mistake. The rational part of my brain was screaming warnings, but I couldn't afford to listen. Because listening meant facing the truth. And I wasn't ready for the truth yet. Month 9, I started going to a different bar. Not the usual expat hangout where Dave and the British couple went, but a smaller place closer to my apartment. I needed to talk to someone, but I didn't want it to be anyone who knew me. Anyone who'd say I told you so. That's where I met Rick. He was American, 50s maybe, sitting alone at the bar nursing a beer. We got to talking the way strangers do. Where are you from? How long you been here? What brought you to Vietnam? The usual. I've been in Daang about 2 years, Rick said. Took early retirement from a job in Atlanta. Figured I'd stretch my savings further over here. You? Tuscaloosa, I said. Retired mechanic. Been here 9 months. We talked about nothing for a while. The heat, the traffic, the food. Then Rick ordered another round and the conversation loosened up. I learned my lesson early, he said, laughing. Got burned the first 6 months I was here. Vietnamese girl, sweet as could be, worked at a hotel, said her name was Lynn. My stomach dropped, just fell right through the floor. Yeah? I managed to say. Same story you hear everywhere, Rick continued, not noticing my face. Sick mother with diabetes, brother had some kind of accident, always some family emergency. She got me for about 22 grand before I wised up. My hands started shaking. I set my beer down carefully. Brother with the motorbike accident, right? Rick laughed. And the niece who needed school fees. Classic. I felt like such an idiot when I figured it out. But hey, expensive lesson learned. I couldn't speak. Couldn't move. Rick looked at me then. Really looked. Hey man, you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. Which hotel? I asked. My voice didn't sound like mine, he told me. Same hotel Lynn worked at. He described her. Same age, same appearance, same everything. You didn't, Rick started, then his face changed. Oh man. Oh no, tell me you didn't. I made some excuse. Said I had to go. Walked out of that bar with my hands still shaking, my chest tight, my brain trying to process what I'd just heard, while simultaneously refusing to believe it. I had the address for the cafe. Lynn had shown it to me on Google Maps months ago when we first started planning. I'd never actually gone there, always trusting the photos she showed me, the receipts, the updates. Bad luck to visit before opening, she'd said. I got on a grab bike, gave the driver the address, rode through the warm Daang night with the wind in my face and my heart pounding. The location was in Hai Chow District, corner spot, good foot traffic from the university, everything Lynn had described. I had the driver drop me off at the intersection. I walked toward the address. It was an empty lot, just dirt and weeds. A chain-link fence around it. No construction, no equipment, no sign that anything had ever been built there. The lot next to it was a noodle shop that looked like it had been there for decades. On the other side, a pharmacy. I stood there staring at nothing, at dirt and weeds and my entire future turning to dust. Every receipt, every photo, every update, all fabricated. The construction photos had probably been from some other site, some real cafe being built somewhere else. The equipment photos from online somewhere. All of it lies. All of it designed to keep me believing, keep me invested, keep me sending money. I don't know how long I stood there. Could have been 5 minutes, could have been an hour. Eventually I walked back toward the main street, got another grab bike, gave him Lynn's address. She lived in a small apartment building, about 10 minutes from my place. I'd been there before, but never inside. We always met at cafes, restaurants, the beach. Her place was her private space, she'd said. Vietnamese culture, women don't invite men to their homes until marriage. I went up to her floor, knocked on her door. She opened it, surprised to see me. Earl, what you doing here? I tell you I'm busy tonight. I want to talk about the cafe, I said. Her face changed, got harder. We talk tomorrow. I have headache. I need to sleep. I went to the location, I said. The corner spot in Haichao, the one near the university. She didn't say anything, just looked at me. It's an empty lot, Lynn. There's nothing there. No construction, no cafe, nothing. It's been empty for years. She still didn't speak. I met a guy tonight, I continued. My voice was shaking now. American guy named Rick. Said he dated a woman named Lynn who worked at your hotel. Sick mother with diabetes. Brother with the motorbike accident. Got him for $22,000. Something crossed her face then. Not shame, not guilt. Almost like irritation at getting caught. You lie to me? I asked, even though I already knew. All of it? The cafe, the family emergencies, everything? She sighed. Actually sighed, like I was inconveniencing her. You have money, I have family need. This is fair. You want girlfriend? I need money. We both get something. Her exact words. I'll never forget them. What about the cafe? I asked. What about our partnership, our future? She shrugged. You believe because you want believe. Not my fault, you stupid. I never promise marry you. I never say I love you. You make up story in your head. I gave you $47,000, I said. She shrugged again. And my family very grateful. Mother get medicine, Min get surgery, niece get computer. You help family? That is good thing you do. Those were real? I asked. Your family, the emergencies? Family real, emergency. She tilted her head. My mother need medicine sometimes. Min, okay, he not have accident. Niece go to public school, not need computer. But you want to help, so I let you help. I felt like I was going to throw up. I want my money back. She laughed. Actually laughed. What money? I spend on family, all gone. You give as gift, remember? You say yourself, not loan, is gift. The cafe money wasn't a gift. That was a business investment. You have paper? You have contract? No. You give money to girlfriend. Now you angry girlfriend not want you anymore. This not my problem. We were partners, I said. My voice broke. We were building something together. We nothing, she said flatly. You are old foreign man with money. I am Vietnamese woman who need help family. You think I love you? Why would I love you? You old, you boring, you talk about car all the time. But you lonely, you want somebody. So I let you think maybe I care. This is how it work. Every word was like a knife. But I had to know. Was any of it real? Any of it? She thought about it, like she was genuinely considering the question. I like you okay. You nice man. Polite. Better than some foreign man who rude, who think Vietnamese woman like sex toy. But love? No. Never love. This is business. You understand business, yes? I provide service, you provide money. I thought we were family, I said quietly. We not family. We never family. You think I introduce you to real family? That house where you eat dinner? My friend house. That woman, she not my mother. That man, he not my brother. That girl, she not my niece. They my friend family. I pay them little bit to be nice to you, to make you feel welcome. They do good job, yes? Everything. Every single thing had been a lie. I want my money back, I said again. I tell you, money gone. And you not get police. You know why? Because you give money voluntary. Because you have no paper, no contract, no proof. Because I am Vietnamese and you are foreign and police not care about you. You go home now. You forget about me. This is finish. She started to close the door. I put my hand on it. Please, Lynn. I don't have much left. That was half my life savings. You need nothing, she said coldly. You have pension. You have money in bank still. You live comfortable. My family, we have nothing. You come to Vietnam with $98,000? My mother, she work whole life. She never see that much money. So you lose half, you still have more than most Vietnamese see in lifetime. Maybe you think about that before you feel sorry for yourself. She pulled the door shut. I heard the lock click. I stood there in the hallway for a while. Then I went downstairs, walked back to my apartment in the humid night, listening to the motorbikes, the karaoke from bars, the sounds of a city that suddenly felt very foreign again. I got back to my room and did the math, opened my laptop, logged into my bank account, looked at the number, $51,000. That's what I had left. $51,000 and a pension check of $2,100 a month. I'd given Lynn $47,000 in 8 months. $47,000 for a business that didn't exist, a family that wasn't hers, a future that was never real. I tried to find her number to call her, to beg one more time, but she'd already blocked me. Blocked my number, blocked me on every messaging app we'd used. I thought about going back to her apartment, banging on her door until she listened. But I knew it wouldn't matter. She'd made her position clear. I thought about going to the police, but she was right about that too. I'd given the money voluntarily. I had no contract, no partnership agreement, nothing in writing. Just bank transfers and receipts for a business that didn't exist. I sat on my bed in that small apartment and tried to understand how I'd been so stupid. How I'd ignored every warning sign, rationalized every red flag, believed every lie. But I knew the answer. I'd wanted to believe. I'd needed it to be real so badly that I'd made myself blind to what was obvious to everyone else. 47 years after Linda Faye Mercer chose the banker over the mechanic, I was still the same Earl. Still the guy desperate to matter to someone. Still the guy who'd trade everything for the illusion of belonging. The only difference was now I was broke and alone on the other side of the world, with no one to blame but myself. I couldn't eat for 3 days after that night. Couldn't sleep either. Just lay there in my apartment going over every conversation, every moment, seeing all the things I'd missed. The manipulation was so obvious in hindsight, it made me feel sick. I talked to Dave and some other expats about going to the police. They all said the same thing. Pointless. I'd given the money voluntarily. No contract, no partnership papers, no proof of anything except bank transfers to my girlfriend. Vietnamese police weren't going to help a foreign retiree who got his heart broken and his wallet emptied. Technically, she didn't do anything illegal, Dave said. You gave her gifts, she accepted them. That's not fraud in their eyes. I thought about going back to Alabama, just buying a ticket, getting on a plane, starting over somewhere familiar. But what would I say to people? To my sister in Montgomery, to the guys from the shop, to everyone who'd warned me this was a bad idea, that I sold my house to chase a woman in Vietnam and got scammed out of $47,000? I'd be exactly what they all predicted. The cautionary tale. The fool. And I'd have to find a place to live on what I had left. Rent in Tuscaloosa wasn't cheap anymore. With $51,000 and $2,100 a month pension, I could maybe afford a small apartment, live frugally, watch my savings drain away on American prices. Or I could stay in Vietnam, live on $1,100 a month, make my remaining money last longer, be anonymous. Just another old expat in Daang, nobody asking questions, nobody knowing my story. I moved to a cheaper room, $220 a month in a neighborhood farther from the beach, smaller place, no air conditioning. Cut out restaurants, started cooking on a hot plate, bought groceries at local markets instead of the expensive Western stores. Stopped going to expat bars. Stopped going anywhere I might run into people I knew. I did the budget over and over, making sure I could survive. Pension $2,100 minus rent, $220, utilities, maybe $60, food and everything else about $820. That left me living on $1,100 a month with $51,000 in the bank as emergency money. If I was careful, if nothing went wrong, I could make it work until I died. That's what my life became, making it work until I died. I see other expats sometimes. Old guys like me with younger Vietnamese girlfriends, walking on the beach, eating at restaurants, looking happy. I want to warn them, want to tell them my story, show them what happens when you believe the fantasy. But I don't. Because they wouldn't listen. Just like I didn't listen to Dave. Just like every guy who gets warned doesn't listen. They all think they're different. They all think their situation is special. They all have reasons why the warnings don't apply to them. I thought I was different too. Here's what I've learned, and I reckon this is why I'll never go back to America. It's not because Vietnam is better. It's not because I love it here, or because I built a life I'm proud of. It's because going back means facing what I did. Means admitting to everyone that they were right and I was wrong. Means living with the shame in a place where people know me. Here, I'm nobody. Another old expat who ran out of money and options. There are dozens of us. We all have our stories, our reasons for staying, our excuses. Nobody asks too many questions because everyone's got something they're running from. The thing about loneliness is it doesn't make you stupid. I was smart enough to work 45 years, save money, retire comfortable. Smart enough to fix cars, run estimates, manage my life. Loneliness doesn't erase your intelligence. What it does is make you willing to believe things you know aren't true, because the alternative is going back to being invisible, going back to mattering to no one. And when you spent 47 years feeling invisible, when someone finally makes you feel seen, you'll believe anything they tell you. You'll ignore red flags, rationalize inconsistencies, overlook obvious lies. You'll tell yourself a story about why this time is different, about why this person is special, about why you deserve this second chance. And that story, that narrative you construct to justify your hope, is the most expensive story you'll ever believe. Vietnam didn't take my money. The country's beautiful, the people are kind, the cost of living is low. Lynn took my money, sure, but she's just one person. She saw vulnerability and exploited it. Can't blame Vietnam for that. No, what took my money was me. My need to matter, my need to be someone's family, my need to build something, to belong somewhere, to finally have what I'd been missing since 1978. I thought I was escaping my past when I came here. Thought I could leave Earl Hutchins, the invisible mechanic, behind in Tuscaloosa and become someone new. But you can't escape yourself. You just bring your brokenness to a new location, and people who know how to spot it will find you. The Linda Faye wound never healed. I spent 47 years telling myself it did, but it didn't. Lynn just found it and pressed on it until money came out. She was smart about it too. Took her time, built trust, made it all feel real. The family dinners, the business plans, the talk of marriage, professional work. I'm still in Daang. Still in that cheap room far from the beach. Still living on $1,100 a month, watching my emergency funds slowly drain. I'll probably die here. Doesn't seem like such a bad ending, really. Better than dying alone in Tuscaloosa with everyone knowing what a fool I was. Sometimes I think about what $47,000 could have bought. New car, maybe, nice vacations, comfortable retirement with cushion to spare, help from my sister if she needed it, a legacy, something to leave behind. Instead, I bought 8 months of feeling like I mattered. 8 months of believing someone wanted me for who I was. 8 months of hope. Expensive hope. But I reckon that's all any of us are buying, in the end. We just pay different prices for it. That's Earl's story, and it's one we hear variations of all the time here at Inside Vietnam. Lonely men seeking connection, finding people skilled at exploiting that loneliness, and losing everything in the process. A few things worth noting. Not all cross-cultural relationships in Vietnam are scams. Plenty of genuine connections happen between people from different countries. But vulnerability makes you a target, and when you're desperate to believe, you become an easy mark. Real love doesn't require constant financial emergencies. Real business partnerships involve transparency, shared access to accounts, and legal documentation. Real family doesn't keep you isolated from friends and wider social circles. And being needed is not the same thing as being loved. Earl's mistake wasn't falling for Lynn. It was falling for the story he told himself about what Lynn represented. He wanted so badly to believe he deserved a second chance that he ignored every warning sign, every red flag, every moment that should have made him pause. The $47,000 he lost taught him something most of us only learn through experience. That the loneliest thing in the world isn't being alone. It's being with someone and slowly realizing they were never really there at all. If you're watching this and you're thinking about making a big life change, about pursuing love or opportunity abroad, learn from Earl. Don't let loneliness make your decisions. Don't ignore the warnings from people who've been where you're going. Don't trade your financial security for the feeling of being needed. And most importantly, don't tell yourself you're different. Don't tell yourself the rules don't apply to you. Don't tell yourself this time will be special, because that's the most expensive story you'll ever believe. Thanks for watching Inside Vietnam. If this story helped you avoid making Earl's mistakes, hit that like button and subscribe. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, the best cautionary tales are the ones you learn from without having to live through yourself. Until next time.